All right, welcome back to If You Know, You Know, the podcast where we talk about everything from best bagels to burnouts to building your bank account without spiraling into financial chaos. Today's guest is extra special. He's a retired investor, a licensed pilot, and also the man responsible for my existence, my dad, Peter Morton. He spent decades helping people invest smart, retire peacefully, and dodge dumb questions, like spending your life savings on a G-Wagon. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Tori.
People don't know this about you, but you were a pilot before you became a finance guy. Why the switch?
Well, quite easy is that when I got out of university, I wanted to be a pilot because the hours were low. You know, there was only I had to work 3 or 4 days a week, and the pay was high, and you got to visit all the great cities in the world. Well, reality hit when I realized that I was making about $6 an hour. And I said, I'm not going to be able to survive on this. It wasn't as much fun. I was teaching flying to get hours, and I took a guy up for some lessons, and he said, you should buy copper because the Belgian Congo is going, is having a revolt. So I went out to my local securities, Richardson, and put down $750. And by the time I had finished that day, I had made $1,250 US. $1,250 US versus $6 an hour. I said, you know what? I'm going to go and get it in and become a commodity broker. Now, my grandfather and my father were both in the investment business, so it wasn't that much of a jump to jump out of flying into investments.
Okay. What did retirement mean to you in your 30s versus now? Be honest, is it as relaxing as people think? Do you think it's relaxing?
Is it as relaxing? Well, no. I mean, I think that, there's tons of books that are written about trying to get prepared for retirement. I think that you have a goal each day that you get up and, you want to accomplish things, and then all of a sudden you're not working anymore. And it's really quite, it can be quite frightening and depressing. So when I was 30, retirement was so far over the horizon. I was making good money, and I had my kids and everything. Now, I'm 71, and, I had a little medical issue last two months ago, and I realized that you can die any day, and so I better get going on the retirement, spend time with my children and my granddaughter, and because they are fantastic.
Oh, okay. Just for fun question: is buying a car a good investment, or is it a mistake?
Well, again, is that if you're in that business, it can be an investment. I know 2 or 3 or 4 different people that buy vintage cars, of which there's only a couple left. They buy Mercedes, which they only make 6 or 7 a year, or Ferraris. They buy them, they drive them for a year or two, and then they sell them for $100,000 more. So, it's not something that you can just buy a car and sell it. Most often, the moment it drives off the lot, it's worth less. And again, we're talking about investing and saving for retirement as part of this. If you're going to lose 25, 30% of the value of the car when you drive it off the lot, you could be using that money for saving for your retirement, for investing and saving your retirement. People want to have the flashy BMW and cars like that, but what kind of car did I have when you were younger?
A Honda?
Yeah, I don't know.
Pontiac Sunfire?
Okay, I don't think I had a Sunfire, but
Pontiac something?
No, it was
Intrepid.
Yes, I had
That's
the
what
Intrepid.
it was. I remember that. Oh
That's
my
right.
God.
That's right. Nobody liked it, but you know what? It was inexpensive, and so the money that I saved on the car, I invested in for my retirement and to take care of you guys.
So if you have a little bit of money now, where would you go? Where would you use that money?
Okay, so
if they wanted to invest.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question because most we at Pembroke we offer sometimes to have these little seminars, wine and dine and to talk about investing and the market, and we invite 10 or 20 young people, and I mean I invited you and your brothers and sisters, and you know what? Everybody had an excuse why they didn't want to come.
Well, we used to come.
And
then they just went downhill. Well, you gotta teach it a fun way, like a podcast or something.
Yeah, but you know what is that? I wasn't going to be part of it, but I think that most kids think that someone's going to ask them a question, and they're going to be there with the 10 or 20 other young, 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds, and it's going to make them look stupid. And, that is the furthest thing. I mean, people go, well, I don't have enough money to invest, so why should I go? Well, you take driving lessons before you have a car. So, you want to,
That's true.
you want to get to know about investing, because, when the money does come, you don't want to start learning then. You want to start learning before you have the money. So, I only have $1,000. Is that enough? Well, what is that? You can put it into your tax-free savings account and just keep it there.
You love that. What does that mean?
Okay, well, a tax-free. So normally what happens is that you open an account, you put $1,000 in, it becomes $1,200.
But where would I go?
Well, you go to a brokerage house.
Okay.
But again, I'm more talking about sort of what is a tax-free savings account. It means that you don't pay tax on the gains. And in Canada, is that if you make $100, you give $25 to the government. And so, that $100 that you're putting into to invest, that's the money that you made after you pay the government your taxes on your income.
Mm-hmm.
So you're being taxed and you're being taxed and you're being taxed. And so, try to reduce the taxes that you pay for the different things that you do. But certainly, when you're younger and you're not making a lot of money, an RSP may not be appropriate, but certainly the tax-free savings account, which is about $7,000 a year, you put it in there and you choose an investment. And I'm not here to make recommendations on investments, but, is that you want to get started. And so, people say, well, when's a good time to start? Well, a good time to start is when you have money. Is this a good time to start? And we can go into sort of timing, because you were going to ask about the timing.
So what's one money myth you wish people would stop believing already?
I think that,
is there actually a perfect time to invest?
Okay. So there is the perfect time to invest is when you have the money. You have to just invest and because people think, well, invest when the market is down. Oh, or the market's going down. Okay, well, it's going to go down more, so I'll wait and I'll wait. It's more time in the market, not market timing. No one ever gets market timing right. They may get it right once. It's funny how I have to say is that I have clients that in April, when Trump was doing his big thing on April 8th, and the market went down about 20%, and a couple of clients said, well, I know some wealthy people that got out of the market already. Well, you know what is that now the market's like 5% higher than where it was back then. Are they in? Did they get back in? And the answer is probably not. So, they're always talking about people selling, and boy, they're smart and stuff. Nobody's smart. They tell you about, one good trade, but they don't tell you about all the bad trades that they do.
That's your favorite thing.
Yeah.
How much do you actually need to retire?
Well, again,
because you're retired.
Yeah, but everybody's different. I think that, if you have daughters like you, I think that the amount that you need is probably a little bit more than you might need if you were less extravagant. So
like what?
I mean, we don't need country houses and good and multiple cars
your choice.
And vacations and things like that. Is that
so? It's your lifestyle.
Yeah, it's your lifestyle. So how much do you spend a year? I mean, I'll tell you something is having a financial planner is a good idea. They will take a look at what you're making as far as your income, how old you are. They will take a look at whether you own the house or not. If you own the house, when you might sell it as you get older, because that will be money in your pocket that you can use for retirement. But at the end of the day, is that it's all about how much money you normally spend. Do you have one dinner out a week? Do you have one dinner out a month? How many movies do you go to? How many vacations do you go on? What's the size of your car? Do you borrow money for your car? And that's sort of thing. So so it's not amount of money that people need to retire is definitely different from one person to another.
So if I had $1,000, I obviously wouldn't come to you, but who would I go to like invest?
Well, again, is that, you would come to me because you're you.
Yeah. Okay. A random person.
I could take care of you. You would invest with whatever, and I would guide you. But for the average person that has $1,000, is that there's many avenues out there. Wealth Simple is something that seems to have caught the imagination of the younger set, and I think that's one of the challenges that we have is we're an older firm. We're started in 1968. We have a lot of older people with and so we're catering to an older crowd. But the people that are coming up through the ranks now, they how do they absorb or take in the information that they see? They do it by podcasts, whereas we kind of have lunches, and it takes too long. I don't want to come downtown. There's the parking, there's this, there's that. And so it's a challenge to try to attract the younger group.
What about, here, wait, I just lost my friggin', wait.
Was that your question though?
What was the question? Okay, so
where would you go? So yeah,
you just said Wealth Simple, it's fine.
Yeah.
Wait, let's just see. Wait, okay. What's your opinion on the get rich quick people on TikTok, on Instagram, and whatever?
So let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Is that if somebody had the actual key to making money, the answer is that why would they share it with anybody? Why wouldn't they just put all their money in there? Why do they need to go and sell it to you? I mean,
Maybe they want to make money.
Yeah, but most of the time it's a con. I know one group, what they would do is, this is back, when I was a commodity broker, they'd send out 100,000 emails and 50,000 would say buy gold and 50,000 would say sell gold. And then after a month, if gold was up, they'd take the buy gold guys and then they'd say, okay, buy more gold, sell gold.
Yeah.
And after, a couple months, you had 5,000 people that you got the right, prediction, 4 or 5 or 6 times. And those people, we're going to go and give you money to do the trading.
Just like how that time I made you buy Olaplex.
Yes.
Because I saw it on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I thought we were going to make millions.
Yes.
But then how much is it at now?
It's at $1.70. And
how much you buy it at?
I bought it at $18.
Well, I thought we were getting rich quick.
Yeah. And you did, and then the worst thing was that you walked away from it. I mean, you didn't check, like a month later, 2 months later.
Well, that's not the point.
No, but I'm
just saying I should have. Now I get it that you can't follow everything on TikTok and Instagram.
Right.
It's not. You got to listen to your father.
Right, but there was a reason.
But you listened.
Yeah,
because you believed in me. I should have believed.
I wanted to empower you, but there was a reason why the stock went down, and what was it?
Why is that?
Well, what was it? Don't you remember?
Well, because someone said it was bad on TikTok.
Yeah, somebody said that there was like
losing
poison
their hair.
or losing their hair. Yeah, and so
it was going up. It's just the power of social media.
So it went from 18 to 30, and then it went down to $1.50.
Right.
And when those rumors came out,
$18 to $1.50.
Yeah, but $18 to $30, and then down to $1.50.
So we should have sold at 30.
Because I think it was an IPO. Like initial public offering, we can talk about that later. But it was a newly listed company, and so when it started to go down and those rumors happened, I mean, if you had said, "Listen, this is not working out," I would have got out at like $12.
Well, I just started seeing on TikTok like, "Oh, Olaplex, not the best," but I didn't think people would actually listen to that and it would cause a surge.
I know, but that's the reason why it went to 30. Everybody is sort of chasing it and not doing their homework, and I guess that I'm,
well, you wanted
guilty of not doing my homework.
Never listened to me.
I know, but I wanted to allow you to have some input. And now, what do you know? I mean, what are you going to do the next time you come up with a hot stock tip?
I'm not going to tell you.
Right, or you're going to do much more work and research on it.
Oh yes, that's
No, because you're going to be investing your money, and how are you going to decide on how you're going to invest it?
My money manager.
Yeah.
Or I'll have smart people like you
around. And that's a good question. I mean, I'm sort of taking over here a little bit, but
I'm interviewing you.
Yeah.
So isn't that the point?
Yeah. but
taking over. What do you mean?
Okay, what I'm saying is that you're going to go to a money manager.
Oh,
So
okay.
so my question is, how do you evaluate your money managers? I mean, there's hundreds of money managers in Montreal.
Mhm.
So how do you measure success? I mean, if you made 6% in a certain year, would that be good?
Out of what? 6% out of 100?
No,
What?
so let's say that you had $100, and at the end of the year you had
Dad, you know I'm not good at math.
$106. No, okay,
You
but
what?
you had 106,
Yeah.
but okay, so
Oh, okay. Well, it's better than losing.
so you made money, but the fact is,
But then you hear everyone else saying, "Oh, I made 17 million% and blah blah blah." So then you're like, "Oh fuck, let me switch to that person. Let me do da da da."
right, and that's what I'm saying is that back to my broker told me to get out of the
Exactly.
market back in February,
Yeah.
but yet they're not, but the broker didn't tell them to get back in, but I think that a lot of people don't know how to evaluate the performance that they're getting from their investment advisor. So, if you're a very conservative client and you're making about 6%, over the long term, that's pretty good.
Mhm.
But if the market is up 10 or 12%, when you say the market, so if the Dow Jones index or the Toronto Stock
I know what that
Exchange
means.
index is up 10
Yeah.
and you're up 7, well, that's not so good. If it's up 10 and you're up 15, that's okay.
How would you check that?
You
You send
check
out emails?
you check your statement, but most
Mm.
brokers on your quarterly statement will show you what you made
Yeah.
in the last quarter, in the last year to date, and 1, 3, 5, and 10 years. And so what you
Okay.
want to ask, sorry, what you want to ask is the, what's the benchmark? How do I measure against? Because what it is it's measuring it against, doing it what's called passive investing, just putting it into, I've mentioned an ETF, an exchange traded fund, where you're just buying the index and you're measuring against that, because if your manager can't beat the index, why are you paying him or her? So I'm going a little bit complicated here but it's just that it's something that most people, they say, well, you know what? I don't mind not making as much as everybody else. I like the guy. He's trustworthy. He's honest. And that's just as good, because Bernie Madoff made 10% a year, for 20 years. But guess what? He was
There's
not
no money.
honest, and it was all BS.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, important question.
Yeah.
What's it like having the world's greatest daughter?
Well,
Just one, just me.
yeah. No, I was about to say I'll let you know when I have one, but but
Oh
no, but you know what? It's hard to choose amongst your daughters,
17
but I
other
think,
children?
but you know what? I'm very impressed that because you mentioned that you wanted to do this. We tried to do it.
You and I tried to do
Yes.
Bank of Dad, but
Yeah.
you were just, I keep hitting it. But you were just too, you were too in your head. But
Yeah.
now I said, meet me here. We're doing this, and it's going up on Wednesday. So you best believe yeah.
Yeah, so
I'll send it to you. You can see it, but you're not having any input on
input on it.
anything.
No. I mean, and I don't mind that. I mean, if I look like an idiot, well, I guess that's
too bad.
kind of what you want.
Well, you're retired, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Half
Well,
retired.
still, I mean, the thing is retired. So, talk about retired. What do retired people do? Well, they
Search the internet and go on TikTok?
no, they
Go on YouTube.
They go and on no profit boards. They raise money
Okay.
for the Children's or Tyndale or the Lighter Fund.
Perfect.
Which
There you
is-
go.
And again, I got to say that I was very impressed with you and Alex and Tulch and Sarah in raising money for the Lighter Fund, and because I've been at the Children's raising money for them since '97. Remember, your brother was in the Children's when he was born with a disconnected throat or something, and so the fact is that you never see kids under 30 sort of on the fundraising committees, whether it's golf or something else, and you guys.
Well, I'm glad you know my age because I'm 34.
I know.
But yeah.
But
I
you
know what
raised
you mean.
over, over $500,000, over 800,000, 900. So, I mean, that's very good. And giving back. I mean,
Well, you can come on the committee since you have free time.
yes.
Okay. Perfect.
But if you've been brought up in a privileged family or environment, you should want to give back to Montreal
Things.
or whatever is the charity. And I think you've done a great job doing it for the Lighter Fund.
Okay, thanks, Pete. And then another question.
Yeah.
What do I do for a living?
You're a content creator.
Oh, you actually knew that one. Because
Yep.
remember last time?
I know.
You just said you do things with
Yeah.
your phone.
Yeah, but I thought, you know what, because I was driving back from my physio, and I said, oh yeah, this is her content creation.
Yeah. Well,
I
Katie
was like,
told me in the car, she said, oh, you were talking to mom
Yeah.
and you were saying, oh, I have this thing for her thing because she's an influencer or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
No, content
Yeah.
creator.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, it's
Because hopefully after this, people like me who, I mean, obviously I have you, so I'm lucky. But if you don't have someone who can help you with your retirement or with investing, maybe this can help. And then they'll go somewhere and get,
I think, just your point is that because you're young, I think this is aimed more at people that are under 45.
Yeah.
And so, we get the questions all the time about, when's the right time to start, and, what do I invest in? And I don't know. And, but yet it's just that people, don't know where to start, so they don't take the opportunity. And so learn, because I'll tell you something is that, not one of the great myths, but if you make an investment and it's a successful investment, you often think that you're the smartest person in the world. So you make another investment,
you are.
And then you sort of double the investment, because, okay, if I made, $2,000, if I double the investment, next time I'll make 4 or 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then reality sets in and you make a bad investment. And then you go, oh, my 6,000 is now worth 4. What do I do? Well, you know what is that now you're thinking, well, I'll sell when I get back to 6,000.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the fact is that maybe like, Olaplex, it's not,
it could, you never know. In a year, it could go back up.
My 18,000 is going to go back to 18,000. Well, no, it just kept going down, and now it's worth $1,760. So,
right, okay.
Is that there's things about behavioral finance where people think that they've found the answer. I mean, when the marijuana stocks came out, I mean, everybody made tons of money, and then they kept telling their friends who told their friends, and then all of a sudden it just went over the waterfall. The smart money was out, and they didn't sell as much as what they thought, and then companies went bankrupt and people lost money.
So if I was to invest, like, what should I invest in? Does it matter? Like, can I invest in fashion? Like, do I just choose what I like?
You know what is that? What they say is that you should invest in what you know. So
what happens if you know nothing?
Well, then what you should do is invest in the broadest, most diversified portfolio.
So what is that?
Well, so again, an index.
But this is your opinion. It's no one,
Yeah.
Okay.
But so the Standard & Poor 500 has the top 500 companies in the U.S. The Toronto Stock Exchange 60 has the top 60 companies in Canada. So companies like Shopify and ones that I'm just trying to think, Dollarama, the company Couche-Tard, companies that you're aware of. I mean, often if somebody's in media, they I'm just trying to think. Alex is in the electric connectors. So he would know how that business is going, whether it's it's going up or going down. So because then you can put some money in there. But generally, you don't want to. There's 2 decisions: one to buy and one to sell. But if you're in the index, which is you're buying all the companies. Is that's probably the best way, because you're diversified. You're not going to lose all of your money. You know what? It takes the volatility. What's volatility?
Being volatile.
Being volatile. So volatility is.
That was good, no?
Yeah. Well, okay, that's great.
Okay, tell me.
Let's go. Yeah, but volatility is when it's up, 5% one month and then down 4% the next month. And what Trump is doing is by putting the fear in investors, and the market falls 15%. And then he kind of goes, no, you know what? We're not going to do that. And then the market comes up 10%. And then he goes, well, we're going to do it in this. And then the market goes back down. I mean, it's been very volatile since February because of his back and forth. So, what you want is, if you're in the wrong stocks, then, you can lose a lot of money. If you're in just one stock, there's a lot of risk in one stock.
Okay. And then
2 stocks less, 3 stocks much less, and then 40 stocks even less.
Exactly. And then if someone listening is overwhelmed and doesn't know where to start, what is one small step they can do today without like the wealth symbol and stuff? Just like what's one step? Save?
Pardon?
Save? Don't go out for that dinner.
Oh, okay. So you're talking
I
about
don't know, like just
how do you accumulate money?
I don't know. Like, okay, so what would you say? I would say maybe don't go shopping and for that one time and then keep that and then, take that and invest it.
I think that, if you want to put it a different way, because is that you might say, listen, let's say that I make $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to put $2,500 in the market for saving, because there's saving and there's investing. So saving is money that you have in case your roof has a leak and you need to sort of pay for that. Investing is you don't need the money for 10, 20 years. And so it's a much longer time horizon. So what you might want to do is say, okay, so I'm making 50,000. Okay, so what I want to do is save $2,500 a year. So that's $200 a month, let's say. Well, you decide what you're going to not have,
right.
and you just take that lifestyle. 200 and you put it into your savings account or into the investment account. But, so if you're getting to the end of the month and you've only put $90 in, well, then you don't go out for that dinner and you put that, but you have to force yourself to save. There are metrics where you're supposed to save a certain amount of your salary.
Right.
But, in this current when I say day and age, it's it's immediate gratification. Is that they have jokes about how when somebody gets hired, they want to be president next day. And
kind of sounds like your son.
Yeah, right.
Kidding. Yeah,
I know, but you have to, if you're going to buy a car, so if a BMW is, and again, I could be wrong on this, but let's say $600 a month, and you have a car that might be $400 a month, is that get the $400 a month, and that $200 extra you save or you invest. You force yourself to do that,
right?
And then over time, it just all of a sudden, you'll have a bunch of money to buy that house. Or to do what you want to do.
Okay. And finally, what does freedom really look like for you? Financially, personally, emotionally, even spiritually, if you're feeling very deep.
Well, I mean, financially is that to be able to know how much money I need to spend each year. And so I would take the amount of money that I have. So again, if I had $100 and I needed to spend $5 a year, is that I could put in the market and make $5 a year.
Yeah.
But if I've only got $50 and I still need $5 a year, so now I got to make 10% off that $50, and that's not realistic. So, so freedom is knowing that you have enough money to pay for all of your expenses for the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. I mean, age 71, how long am I going to last? So
I thought you were 72.
No, that's at the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
pretty
I'm going
sure.
to have to call my mother for that one.
Yeah. So that's
he lost his memory.
okay. So freedom is knowing, that you can have the lifestyle that you want for as long as you can see.
Okay.
So, what people do as they get older is they sell their primary dwelling, and then they live off the interest or the gains that they get from that. So you're saying, financial, you were saying personal or?
Whichever, financial, personal, emotional, spiritual, whatever.
Well, no, but on that is, freedom. I mean, it's not, that's not the right word necessarily, but, to be, I think that I'm very, very lucky, on the one hand, the fact that you four are still around, is
but that's only recent.
Yeah, but it's a great thing because for most Montreal families, for most English Montreal families, their kids have gone to Canada to Ontario, or out west, or they've gone to the States, or they've gone to
Mhm.
Europe, and so parents don't see their kids, and then they don't see their grandkids. I think that I'm very fortunate to have you and Katie and Jeffrey and Alex and Penelope, and
And Dal and
well, and Dal and
Erica.
Erica too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people. A number of my clients are actually moving to Toronto.
because their kids are there?
Yeah, because their kids are there,
Oh.
and I wouldn't want that. I mean, like, we have a good lifestyle here in Quebec. We got
Even though you
Matisse.
tell us to leave the house all the time.
Well, I want you to find your way, but I want you to come back, and I want you to,
Oh, okay. Thank
but
Yeah.
there's just, Quebec, for all of its warts, has, it has a good lifestyle.
Mhm.
There's a lot of great places that are, within driving distance, and,
That's true.
and Matisse and Knowlton, and,
Yeah.
and places like that.
What's a restaurant you've been to lately that actually impressed you? 10 on 10, the best service, the best everything.
Again, because I was in the hospital for a while, I haven't been to too many restaurants lately. But
Yeah.
one that I had a very, very good experience was at Lenny Leiter's place out at Royal Mount. And
Prime.
and it's called Prime, yeah.
Yeah.
And went there a couple times. You took me there because I wasn't able to drive, and
Mhm.
and it was easy to get to, free parking, and really good lunch. He came over and had a chat, so it's always nice that the owner is there, and
Yeah.
and is proud of what he has. So you know what I mean. It's not one of these other big restaurants out there, but I just liked. I had a very good meal, and
And then
and I was
what was
very
the other one? I remember you saying it the other day.
Monarch.
Yes.
So Monarch is another good one. They have
Never been.
they have a brasserie, and they have a dining room, and it's very hard to get in. I mean, you got to book, well in advance, but very good culinary and dining experience. I was very happy with that.
And then, what piece of advice do you give to someone young? Anything. It doesn't have to be about investing. It can be anything. Well, obviously, it's going to be about investing because that's what you do.
Yeah,
But
I think that we've kind of gone through a lot of the things. Meaning, it's
yeah, but
it-
this
is
is like
it-
this is like the end. Like you're gonna like. What is one thing?
okay. Force yourself to save.
Okay.
Force yourself to come up with an amount of money each month that you can put into some investment account,
Yeah.
so that you'll have enough money to retire later on in life, or to buy a house. I mean, I think that you guys, you young guys, are always saying that we had it so easy, growing
'Cause you
up. There
did.
were lots of jobs, and real estate was cheap, and to a certain extent, you are right. And so now it's more expensive to buy the house, but you've got to save the money to buy that house, to get on that merry-go-round, so that you can buy something small, and then maybe graduate larger when you have the family and
Mhm.
stuff like that. But you basically have to stop whining and about how easy we had it, and kind of sort of pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and
They're gonna kill you for
and
this,
get the
but it's
money.
fine.
To 10 or 15 years from now, okay, I can buy a duplex or something.
I don't think that's gonna happen. But I thought you were gonna say maybe like advice: don't get your knee replaced.
Well, what is it? Yeah, I mean, you know what? Even though I had a bad experience,
Some people had good experiences.
yeah, I mean, I have to say is that probably the doctor that I had, did, 20 or 10 knee replacements that day, and did 100 in the previous, 3 months.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that got
Meningitis
meningitis
from it.
You know,
Okay.
so I mean, it's not his fault. It's just is sort of one of those. I was just unlucky. So, I like to hike. I like to play golf. I can't do that
You like to eat.
I like to eat,
Yeah.
but I can't do that if my knee is not working.
Right.
So I had to get the knee replaced. So
Okay.
you know what? It's just being unlucky.
Right. Well, whatever. At least you got to spend more time with your family. You forgot everything. You were like, you got out to go for lunch every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were stuck in the hospital for 3 weeks. You tried to escape a few times.
Yeah, well, that didn't work out very well.
You tried to escape and then they let you escape and then you had to go back a week later. Remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, my brain is richer and hopefully my bank account will be too. Big thanks to my guest and forever financial safety net, Peter Morton, aka Dad. If you like this episode, share it with someone who still thinks investing is only for rich old men in suits. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and everything. I'll share it below.